Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. And this is the latest news updates. A lot to get into today, including the latest on Tomiyasu, Joshua Kimmich, Ramsdale. Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about Ramsdale. Will he stay? Will he leave? We'll be talking about that one. The latest on Gyökeres. And we didn't get Mudryk, but we are linked to another player from Shakhtar. Maybe it's finally our time to get a player from Shakhtar and also another player from Midtjylland. So we'll be talking about all that. But let's start with Takehiro Tomiyasu. The new contract has been announced today. Finally, we knew about it for a couple of weeks now, but you always have to wait for it to be confirmed. And yet another player who signed a new contract. Last week, Ben White was the one that was announced, and Gabriel Magalhaes signed a new contract not that long ago. Saliba signed a new contract not that long ago. You're still in discussion with Odegaard. Bukayo Saka signed a new contract not that long ago as well. Declan Rice obviously signed recently. Harvard signed recently. So we've built a really, really good future. On top of that, the likes of Reece Nelson also signed contracts recently. So it's such a good time to be an Arsenal fan. I still remember very, very well. There was a time, most of our best players from the last decade, all of them left Arsenal on a free. We can start with the most recent ones. Aubameyang and Lacazette, both of them left Arsenal on a free. Alexis Sanchez, there's a time Alexis Sanchez was like the best Premier League player, maybe the top two alongside Hazard for like 2-3 years. If we had sold him around 2016, 2017, we'd have sold Alexis Sanchez for like 80, 90 million. No kidding. Like, he was that good of a player. He was basically like smashing every single team with his goals and assists, like his performances, always high level. And I remember him winning us the FA Cup almost by himself as well. Like, his levels are very, very high. But he left Arsenal on a free. On a swap deal with Mkhitaryan, but we didn't get any money for him. You can go a little bit further than that. Aaron Ramsey was like our best player around 2013, 2014. He ended up leaving Arsenal on a free as well. And so many others, so many other players. I'm thinking Cazorla as well left Arsenal on a free, and many, many others. And those were our best players those days, but you never got anything for them. If you compare that to teams like Liverpool, who are able to get 100 plus million for Coutinho. Chelsea are able to get 100 plus million for Eden Hazard. Like, if you had gotten 100 million for Alexis Sanchez, maybe that could have been the difference for us around 2018, 2019 in terms of the players would have brought in. But these days, we are definitely moving like a different club. Those days, we used to complain about every single player living on a free and running down their contracts. These days, no one is running down their contracts. These two players have just signed new contracts, and most of the players in the Arsenal team right now, their contracts are running until 2027, 2028, and they have a lot of years to go. And all of them are young, starting from the defense and the forward players like Saka and the Martinellis of this world. And if everything goes according to plan, you can easily see them staying here for another 4 to 5 years, maybe even more, hopefully. So a great time to be an Arsenal fan. We are tying players down to new contracts. And the main thing about that for me is these players seem like they want to stay at Arsenal, and that is the main thing. Back in the day, maybe those players didn't want to stay at Arsenal. Players like Mkhitaryan as well, players like Mustafi. How many contracts did we cancel? Socrates, so many. But most of the players that we have right now seems like they really love what it says building in terms of the team, and they all want to be part of the success that is coming up. All of them, from the forward players, the midfield, the goalkeeper, to the defenders, all of them want to be here, and it's a really exciting time to be an Arsenal fan. So congratulations to Tomiyasu, an absolute beast of a player. He's been very unlucky with injuries, and a couple of those injuries have been picked up while he's playing for the international team. So it's kind of a downer. And the last 2 seasons, his injuries have kind of cost us our targets for the season. Last season, if Tomiyasu and Saliba stayed fit, it probably have ended up winning that title. But Tomiyasu and Saliba getting injured in the same game against Sporting, that was a killer. If you go to back to the previous season, Tomiyasu and I think Partey getting injured that season was also a killer for us in terms of trying to get top 4. So the injuries have always been affecting him, but hopefully now that he signed a new contract up until 2026, by the way, so another 2 years, an extra 2 years, not really 3, 4, 5 years like other players usually sign, but it's 2 years. And this is what he actually had to say after signing: I'm not young anymore. When you're playing at Arsenal, we've got a lot of young players and I'm getting older. I want to achieve something with my teammates and the supporters. So at Arsenal, when you get to 27, 28, you're getting towards the older players. Like right now, Trossard is not old, but in terms of our team, is one of the older players alongside Jorginho and Partey and those guys. And Trossard is like 29 or something. So At Arsenal, we have a lot of young players, and you're building a young team. So for a player like Tomiyasu, he's not going to be offered like a 5-year contract. He's only going to be given like 2 years, but he's a beast. If he stays fit, the way we are so good in terms of defense, I'm just imagining if Tomiyasu and Timber also then don't have injuries, it would be unstoppable, because that means you can rest Ben White, who's been playing through an injury. You can play Tomiyasu for 2 games and rest Ben White. You can bring in Tomiyasu at left back instead of Zinchenko, instead of Kivio. You can have Timber at right back some games. You can have Tomiyasu at left back. Like, you never know. Tomiyasu can play left back, right back, centre back. Timber, left back, right back, centre back. Ben White, right back, centre back. Kivio, centre back, left back. Like, we are building such a good team. And that's why I said I don't feel like we need a defender on yesterday's video. I think our defense is set. Like, if everyone stays fit and everyone stays, we have 7 defenders in Zinchenko, Kivio, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, Tomiyasu, and Timber. And I think that that is great. If all of them stay fit, we don't really have to sign any other defender. So exciting times. Congratulations to Tomiyasu on getting a new contract, and Ben White as well a couple of days ago. Exciting times. Now, speaking of players who would be older if they played for Arsenal, let's talk about Kimmich. Now, Kimmich is, I think, 29 right now, and he has been linked to Arsenal. According to news from Playtigal in Germany, Arsenal are one of the 5 clubs in consideration for Joshua Kimmich, who could leave Bayern this summer. So it's not just Arsenal who want him, and there's 4 other clubs that want him. If I'm not wrong, I think I saw Man City on that list, Chelsea and those kind of teams. Most teams would want him. Like, this is a quality player. This is a player who plays regularly for his country, plays regularly for his club. And I remember watching him like back in the day, 7-8 years ago. He did play against us in those games where they smashed us 5-1, 5-1, even the first 5-1 against Bayern. He was there. He was slightly a youngster. He was 22, 23 there. He was younger than all the other players. But if I'm not wrong, I do remember him playing like as a right back in those games, and he was very good. He's predominantly as a midfielder these days, and he can still play as a fullback and stuff, but mainly as a midfielder. Now, if you have him in the number 6 position, another defensive midfielder who can, take corners and free kicks and all that, would be a great signing. And in terms of experience, he would definitely bring experience to Arsenal. So if you're to ask me if I'd take Kimmich to Arsenal, my answer would be yes. So 3 years, bring him for 3 years, that would be great. He adds experience to that team, and he adds a lot of quality to that team. And there's a reason, like, there's 5 clubs who want him. There's a big reason in those quality clubs, because he's always been quality, and he's a midfielder who can do a lot of things. He can defend for you, and he can also attack for you. As I said, he takes set pieces for Germany and also for Bayern Munich. So he's a very exciting player. But maybe you guys have a different opinion. I've seen other people saying, nah, he's too old. Let's get a younger midfielder. How much would he be? We don't know about that one yet. And the wages and all that, we have to wait and see. But we are actually looking at Joshua Kimmich, which would never be us 3-4 years ago. That would never have been us. Arsenal looking at Declan Rice and Kimmich and Mbappe 3-4 years ago, we'd never been looking at this kind of players. We were looking at players from the championship, from players that no one else really wanted. But now we hear Man City wants a player, we also say we want the player, and the people cannot laugh like, haha, look, Arsenal want a player, obviously he's going to go to Man City. No, those days are gone. So again, exciting time. So let me know, would you take Kimmich at Arsenal, or is there a reason why you wouldn't take him? Let me know. Now, a player who might not be here next season is Aaron Ramsdale. And Fabrizio Romano has been talking about him, and this is what he's had to say. Aaron Ramsdale is another player to watch as he wants to play more. We know Arsenal are going to make David Raya's transfer permanent since joining on loan. So what does this mean for Ramsdale's future? Although Ramsdale has been a fantastic professional this season and has supported his teammates, especially Raya, he wants to play, and at the end of this season, it will be time for him to look at new solutions. And he goes on to say he doesn't want to sit on the bench and all that. So if you go back to last season, and Ramsdale was our first choice goalkeeper, Matt Turner was a bit unlucky in terms of the cup competitions, because we went out very early in the Carabao Cup, and in the FA Cup we also went out like in the second game. We won our first one against Oxford and then lost to Man City, and then those are the only games he could have played. But Turner had the Europa League. He was playing some games in the Europa League. But the difference with last season and this season, Ray has been playing the Premier League and also the Champions League, because you're no longer in the Europa League where you can rotate players. And on top of that, the cup competitions, like if we were getting to the Carabao Cup final and the FA Cup final, we would have seen Ramsdale for at least another like 10 games this season, But unfortunately for him, we went out in the first game in the FA Cup and by the second game in the Carabao Cup as well. So he didn't really get any game time apart from games against Brentford and the dead rubber game against PSV in the Champions League. So he's not really gotten any game time. And for him, he's actually lucky that he's still going to be picked for the England national team for the Euros without playing, because there's not too many quality goalkeepers right now. For England, there's a lot of goalkeepers like Johnston and Pope, who's injured, Pickford and Henderson. There's a lot of goalkeepers England have, but not all of them are quality like Ramsdale. Like if that was like 3-4 years ago and Pickford was top and Pope was fit and all that, Ramsdale would not have been picked. But he's lucky that most of those goalkeepers are not like high quality enough. So even if he's sitting on the bench at Arsenal, he's going to be picked, and Southgate doesn't really care whether you're playing or not. He's still going to pick you. So Ramsdale is lucky in terms of that. So maybe that's another reason why it's not really, it never really pushed to go in January. But next season, will he want to stay and just sit on the bench? Listen, we might go find the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and he might get 10, 15 extra games than what he's had this season, but I really doubt it. And for him, for Arsenal, for everyone, maybe it could be better for him to leave, because I'm sure if he stays next season, there's still going to be this conversation about David Raya and Ramsdale, who should play this game. No, this one made a mistake here. This one should play here. Maybe it would be better for everyone, like, not to have that conversation and just have a first choice goalkeeper and a second choice goalkeeper without too much arguments. But we have to wait and see. But for me, I doubt he's going to leave. He's going to stay. I think he's going to leave. How much you're going to get for him, you have to wait and see. Hopefully, if he does leave, we get a good amount for him. And Ramsdale is a player that we'll always remember. It's not like those other players who've left previously and you're like, nah, you don't want to hear about them. Ramsdale is definitely a player, like, even if he is, will be like wishing him the best and watching him and seeing how he does in other teams, and still following him on all social media and all that, and not unfollowing like previous players and all that. So that's the latest on Aaron Ramsdale. Let me know, would you still want to keep him next season as a backup goalkeeper, as a rotation option, or would you just want to sell him and get that money? Get that money to sign players like Gyökeres. Now, we talked about Gyökeres yesterday, and it was confirmed by other media outlets yesterday, and this shows it. Arsenal are now leading the race for Victor Gyökeres. The Gunners would be willing to reach his 100 million euro release clause, which is 85 million pounds. So we are definitely looking at a striker, as we spoke about it yesterday. This is a player we're definitely interested in, and when I did that video yesterday and did a poll and all that, a lot of people are actually saying, listen, I prefer Gyökeres to Osimhen because of different reasons. It would be cheaper in terms of wages, and also in terms of signing him, it would be an easier deal to get. And in terms of style of play, combine more with our players than Osimhen would have seen. I've gotten a lot of comments about that. So personally, for me, I just want any of these strikers. It's probably be in my top two options, but let's wait and see. It's definitely a player we are interested in, and it would be a message if we ended up getting a player like Gyökeres. Like, he's been on fire this season, 36 goals and 14 assists. That is 50 goal contributions in March. They are still in the Europa League. They're still fighting for the league. So by the time we get to the end of the season, he could have 60. So that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. A couple of other players we've been linked to. You're just going to touch a bit on it. The player from Shakhtar Donetsk, that's Sudakov. Arsenal are one of the teams that have asked for information on Shakhtar Donetsk, Sudakov. So a midfielder is a midfielder at Shakhtar Donetsk. We were linked to a player from Shakhtar Donetsk before in Mudryk, and it ended up being a tough battle in terms of getting him. But we are linked to Sudakov now. Listen, if we get any, the likes of Fabrizio and David Onsen and other outlets confirming it, then we'll do more digging on him. But from what I've seen, his numbers this season are not that great. But he's been at Shakhtar since 2020, and his numbers have been fluctuating up and down. But let's see. It depends on how much we are willing to pay for him. But he would be a backup. He wouldn't start ahead of Rice or Odegaard, any of those players in that midfield. So this would potentially be a backup. And right now, I don't. The only backup I think we are looking for is for Bukayo Saka. We are looking for someone who's going to be the main striker, maybe rotate with Havertz and Jesus, and we are looking at someone who's going to be in midfield if Partey leaves, so a starter in midfield next to Declan Rice. And the only backup we're looking for is a wing. I don't think we are really looking for a backup in defense. You already have Kivio and Zinchenko, and when Timber and Tomiyasu come back, we'll have enough defenders and maybe a goalkeeper as well. You're looking for a backup in terms of goalkeeper, but Ramsdale is still here as we are recording this, so there's that as well. Another player we've been into is a 19-year-old from Zealand. Arsenal are keeping close tabs on the progress of 19-year-old Zealand forward Jew. I think that's how you say it, with club scouts hugely impressed with what they have seen. Ajax, PSV, and Borussia Dortmund have also watched Francolino in recent months. This is according to Graham Bailey. So another player that will be linked to, but yet again, this is not a player I can see coming to start at Arsenal. That would be a backup, and for me, I'm not looking for backups in those positions. If you're getting a striker, get someone like Gyökeres. You have Havertz there who can play there. You have Trossard who can play there. You have Jesus who can play there. The only backups we need are for the goalkeeper and for Saka. The others, starters probably up front and also in midfield. So that's the latest in everything to do with transfer news and new contracts and all that. Let me know what you make about everything we've talked about in terms of Tomiyasu, Kimmich, Gyökeres, Aaron Ramsdale, Sudakar from Shakhtar, and Jew from Midtjylland. Let me know. Hit the like button. That was today's video. See you tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next.